Ambassador Markarova, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start. This week marks 2 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. From your perspective, where do things stand for Ukraine right now?
Thank you for having me. It's even more complicated than that because it's 2 years of full-fledged war, but it's actually 10 years since Russia attacked us in 2014, and it also this month. So the fight is still there. The fight is very difficult. The war crimes that Russians commit on the battlefield, but also everywhere, shelling peaceful country with missiles, torturing and killing people on the occupied territories. It's all happening as we speak. And yet, during these 2 years, we were able to liberate 50% of what Russia occupied since February 24th. We have liberated the Black Sea. We can now use it. It's no longer only Russian lake as they tried to do at the beginning of this. We are holding a very long line, and with additional weapons, which we are very hard trying to convince our friends and allies not only to continue providing, but to actually double down, to provide more of weapons, more sanctions to Russia, we can liberate more and we can win this. So it's very difficult. People, of course, are tired, 2 years of full-fledged war. But as 2 years ago, all Ukrainians are united around fighting, defending our homes, and saying that we will never surrender.
And this moment is a stark contrast from last year, as U.S. Congress has failed to move forward any additional U.S. aid for Ukraine. President Zelensky said he didn't believe the holdup was a betrayal. But at what point, without more U.S. aid, does it become one?
Well, as we said, we have trust in our partners and allies. The previous 4 supplementary budgets were not easy either. It's difficult to recall it now, but there were holds up in the previous packages. And yes, very good that the package for this year was adopted as early as December 2022. So whole 23rd year, we had supplies of weapons and budget support. But there were difficult discussions for that too. Now, we needed this package to be adopted yesterday. We, of course, would really appreciate and welcome if we already had enough authorizations and appropriations for Pentagon and others to take the decisions to order more weapons for us. But we really hope that this time, as we speak, this time around the anniversary, and we know actually, because President Zelensky spoke with the delegations of both House and Senate in Munich recently, we know that they're working really hard to make it happen. And I know we still have the support. So again, we ask, we pray, and we really count on our American friends to deliver.
Were there any signs in those meetings with the delegation that this could move forward? And does President Biden, who indicated an openness now to meeting with Speaker Johnson, does that give you any sort of further hope?
Well, we hear it publicly from a number of people, and we hear it from Speaker, we hear it from members on both sides of the aisle. There is significant bipartisan support. So again, we understand the discussion during the previous months was not even so much about Ukraine. It was around the border. It was about other issues. Whatever it has to do with Ukraine, we have been providing all information about how transparent we're using it, how effectively we're using it, how much of this actually stays in the United States, creating jobs here. Of course, we appreciate all the capabilities that we are getting. But, we're trying to share and address any concerns that are there. But during the previous months, the discussion was not about us mostly. The discussion was, about the internal issues. And I really hope that this could be resolved as soon as possible now with this package that Senate supported, which is only focused on Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan. Again, hope, pray, and we really need it.
And when we look at Avdiivka, Ukrainian troops withdrew from that. The White House has cited congressional inaction for Ukrainian soldiers having to ration ammunition. President Zelensky said Russia is, quote, taking advantage of delays in aid to Ukraine. Does the U.S. bear any responsibility here for this?
Well, the only one who's responsible for this horrible war is Putin and Russia. Let's always be clear. We might have any disagreements with our friends and allies. We want the decisions to be quicker and yesterday, but the responsibility is there. There is only one aggressor here. So, but, look, with Avdiivka, we were holding the city for 10 years, literally. The fight was there all the time, even before the full-fledged war. We were holding the city for 2 years now, since the beginning of this great war. And during just previous couple of months, the number of losses of personnel and equipment there for Russian forces was very significant. Now, it was a very wise decision for our chairman to actually pull back from there. And frankly, it's not like they taken the town of Avdiivka. They simply destroyed it. I mean, if you look at Avdiivka, similar to other cities which they destroyed previously, it's a very, Pyrrhian victory. It's not like there is something there left, unfortunately. But of course, the shortage of ammunition, we experienced it for quite a while. It's not just now. And of course, since November, after we don't have any supplementary funds available, we cannot order, or the US, the Pentagon, cannot order additional interceptors for us, which is critical for air defense. They cannot order additional munition. We cannot move forward with the support that we need. Yes, we're still getting some of the capabilities which were announced last summer. They were produced and we're getting them, but we need much more. So, literally right now it's a very pivotal point when we have to show that we can stay the course, and that we can, when Russia is relying upon their partners, Iran to produce drones, North Korea to produce and provide them with the missiles, we really would like to count on our friends and allies with everything they can support us with.
Have you seen that relationship between Russia and Iran and North Korea advancing further at this point?
Well, yes, with Iran, they are not only buying the drones from them, they're producing them already together in Russia. With North Korea, although they are denying, but we already have evidence of these North Korean rockets, not only in Kharkiv, where we already clearly identified that Kharkiv was attacked with North Korean missiles. We're also checking the recent attack on Kyiv Oblast, and it looks like some of this might have been North Korean as well. So yes, they are staying strong and helping each other. And the question is, can democracies do the same? And I'm so glad to see that the majority of people here support us in the US, and Europe is moving forward, even though it's also difficult in democracies to discuss and debate and make decisions unanimously by all members. But, I have faith in people who believe in the same values with us.
A Kiel Institute report estimates that Europe would need to double its level and pace of arms aid to replace that of the US's. Can Ukraine win this war without further support from the United States?
Well, short answer is no. And I think it will take all of us to actually win this war. I mean, look, 2 years ago, we all thought Russia was the largest or the second strongest army in the world. Now, Ukrainians have proven that they're not really that capable or that strong, but they're still very big. They're not motivated, they don't know what they're doing in Ukraine, but they still, if you compare the land mass, the production capacity, again, in an authoritarian regime, you can do it without any bureaucracy and really quickly. And it will take all of us to stop it while it's still in Ukraine. Now, we always have to remind also everyone that it's not just about Ukraine. Of course, it's existential for us. For us, it's the war for our homes, for our loved ones, for our life. But it's existential for everyone else who believes in democracy and believes in freedom. If, God forbid, we fall, and we will not. But, Putin has been very clear in all his speeches, in all his evil addresses, that it's just that he's restoring his evil empire, whatever it is, Russia, Soviet Union, whatever he calls it. He threatens other countries, including NATO members. So we have to get together, double down, provide Ukraine with everything so we can stop him in Ukraine rather than stopping him in so many other places.
What else would Ukraine like the United States to do absent any further congressional aid at this point? Are there steps the U.S. is not taking you believe it can and should be?
Well, look, I think we just have to put all the efforts on explaining and informing and asking for support. And I'm positive Congress will support us. At the same time, it's not the supplementary budget only that we're working on. There is also the issue of confiscation of 300 billion Russian assets. And Congress is taking the lead on that one. And G7 finance ministers are discussing it. It's very important, not instead of the supplementary budget, but in addition to it. There is also sanctions package. We have to double down on sanctions. We have to sanction all Russian banks. We have to show that we're really serious about not allowing them to make money to conduct this war. They still are selling enough of their energy products and everything else in order to produce all of this or buy these drones from Iran. So I think there are so many areas we can work together, from defense and security to sanctions to isolation to international relations to confiscation, that if we really increase our efforts on all of these fronts and then at the same time work on President Zelensky's peace formula, which, as you know, now more than 80 countries participate in discussions and deliberations, then all of these efforts will force Russia to stop this war.
Former President Donald Trump indicated that aid to Ukraine be in the form of a loan. Is a loan from the United States a form of aid Ukraine would welcome?
Well, look, we need the help. We need security capabilities, we need budget support, we need energy support. And of course, it's up to the United States on discussion how is the most effective and quick way to provide it. And when I was the Minister of Finance, we negotiated and we received support from the US in the form of loan guarantees. Now, of course, receiving it in the form of grants has its big pluses. First of all, it's very quick. Second, it allows Ukraine also to work on our stability and become self-sustainable faster, because again, our goal is not to ask for the help forever. So to provide us with grants right now really helps us to keep our economy under control, to preserve the workforce. But look, everything is going to be discussed. Right now, we are still discussing, the proposal that is on the table. And we were very grateful that during these 2 years, United States provided us with support in the form of grants. So not only they have supported us now, but they added to our sustainability and public finance health in the future.
And of course, we're in the midst of a presidential election for the United States right now. For Ukraine, what impact would a Trump presidency and what impact would a Biden second term have?
Well, as a diplomat, I cannot comment on the internal political issues here, but we are thinking about tomorrow. We are thinking about next month. We are thinking about how many people will die in Mariupol because we did not liberate it. And there is still a lot of time until the elections here. Now, one thing I want to emphasize is Ukraine and support to Ukraine, because it's not just support to Ukraine, it's support of democracy, freedom, human dignity, is not bipartisan because that's how we would like it to be. It's bipartisan because it's about American values too. So it's all American issue. And, look, both our countries are democracies. I always keep saying it. We are fighting for democracy on the battlefield now. And it's the right of people to debate and to choose. And, Ukraine valued that so much. We never posed a threat to Russia. We never wanted to attack Russia. All we wanted is to live in our country and, be Ukrainian, be European, be members of transatlantic family, but also to be a democracy, to elect our officials, to change them on a regular basis. This is who we are. So, of course, we understand the democratic processes in other countries, but, Ukraine is a strategic partner, regardless of the internal process here.
And going back to the peace plan you mentioned, when we talk about peace for Ukraine, what does peace look like with Russia? Is it realistic that Russia withdraws its forces from all of Ukraine, including Crimea? And what do you say to people who suggest that you go to the negotiating table right now? What's your message for them?
Well, first of all, is it realistic? It's very difficult. It's not an easy task, but of course it's realistic. Ukraine sovereignty and territorial integrity is something that we are fighting for. It's important for us, it's important for all other countries, because if Russia can violate this, and we will not be able, after 153 countries at the UN condemned it and voted for Russia to stop this, if we will not restore it back, then what kind of message does it send to anyone and all other future aggressors who would like to violate the borders through force? Second, it's of course our goal. We never accepted the first Russian attack in 2014, and when all Ukrainians voted for independence in 1991, and Ukraine became independent within its borders, everyone recognized it, including Russia. It's just unimaginable even to think that we should be discussing, are you ready to give up your arm or leg or something to stay alive? Plus, there are people there. When we talk about territories, we're not just talking about, some kind of empty land. These are millions of Ukrainians who are suffering there, who are tortured there, who are put in prison, and children who are indoctrinated or stolen into Russia and put for the speedy adoptions into Russian families. We have to save them as well. And now coming back to the negotiations. You have a great saying in America, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Putin does not need negotiations to stop this war. This is his war of choice. He started this war and he can end it today. He just have to decide to stop the hostilities, stop the aggression, and get out from our country. End of war. So we tried to negotiate when he suggested something like this the last time in 2014 and 15. We signed Minsk Accords. We implemented them to the T, and he used all these 8 years that Ukraine engaged in diplomacy. He used it to gather all the missiles and forces to attack us again. So this is the time when we have to stay strong, we have to stay brave, and we have to stay true to the principles upon which we have built the world order after the World War II. Territorial integrity, sovereignty, and the possibility of peaceful countries to defend themselves. Now, we also have to remember that Ukraine is one of only 2 countries that got rid of the nuclear weapons in 1994 at our own will. We used to own 3rd largest nuclear arsenal in the world. And we decided to give it up because it's so important for us in exchange of the security guarantees, which then turned out to be not guarantees, given by a number of countries, including Russia. So what kind of message does it send to those who really would like to get their hands on the nuclear warheads, that you can only defend yourself if you have the nuclear weapons? So again, from any angle you look at it, we have to win this war. We have to win it for Ukraine, but we also have to win it for the rest of the world.
And my colleague Jason Bellini, he's reporting from inside Ukraine right now, and he reports that while there is a sense of defiance following the withdrawal from Avdiivka, there's also a sense of despair. So as we approach the 2-year mark here, how do you describe the morale of Ukrainians at this point, and what would you want Americans to know?
Well, all Ukrainians are affected by this war. 14 million internally or externally displaced. Everyone in Ukraine have either someone who's in the armed forces, or who was on the occupied territories, or who was tortured, or this is something that changed all of us. And of course it's difficult. It's difficult to live when you have to go down to the bomb shelter a couple of times a day, when you send kids to school and you know that they have to go to bomb shelter and you don't know whether they are safe there. When you live in either with blackouts or without access to medical supplies, it's a full war. And yet, all of us understand that it's existential for us. We unfortunately know what happens to all of us under occupation. So we really know that we don't have any choice. Like another great woman from Kiev, who was the Prime Minister of Israel, Golda Meir, once said, there is secret to our fight, is that we don't have any other home, and we don't have anywhere to run. We don't have any other choice. So yes, it's difficult. Sometimes people would be in despair, but then you get yourself together, you understand what is at stake, and you go ahead and do a little bit more. And I have to tell you, I travel to Ukraine not as often as I would like to, but of course I talk to all my relatives and friends all the time. And they inspire me, and they sometimes cheer up me from Ukraine, even though I know it's much more difficult there. So I just want to tell American people that, like Americans, we feel so strongly about freedom. We love it so much, and we're so willing to fight for it, that regardless of how difficult it is, regardless of how tired we are, we will not surrender, we will not give up, we will keep fighting. But with American support, we will win faster, and we can move to the next exciting stage of our lives on rebuilding and doing something together. And again, hopefully a longer era of not only lasting peace in Ukraine, but the era of peace and cooperation for all democracies, so that we can prosper, we can grow food, we can grow babies, raise babies, and not think about how to contain and fight with people who in the 21st century, instead of tackling some real global problems that we all have, are fighting 19th centuries type of wars.
All right, Ambassador Markarova, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.